So we're all a youth at one point, right? I am a mom of 4, you're a mom, we're invested. We're invested from a mother perspective, but from the mayor to just a community member, it's so important. It's so important just to bring awareness to this. Let's talk about it. I think one thing over the past several years is stigmas that have been attached to certain things. Let's do away with those. Let's just talk about it.
100%.
So it's so important. It impacts some of our most vulnerable, our youth, and the ripple effect. It's so incredibly important.
Oh, absolutely. No, that. Welcome again to another episode of the Bridging Divides podcast, where we bring you all of the news, resources, and success stories about mental health that you guys can use to be able to bridge the divide in your own lives. I'm super, super excited. Speaking of bridging divides and the people that are doing that actively, I have Mayor Julia Wheatley and Vice Mayor Leah Martineau here with me today. They are just absolutely awesome. I know Leah, we've met several times, and I'm meeting Mayor Wheatley for the first time here today. But you guys are just so fun. We were talking before about our favorite Parks and Rec characters and whatnot. But just absolutely great to have you guys. Thank you so much for being on today. We are promoting the Queen Creek Run for Resilience event that is happening on April 27th. We are super, super excited. You guys were involved last year with our inaugural race, and we just had a great turnout. It was just absolutely fantastic. And so I'm excited to bring you guys on today to be able to really kind of dive into more of why we're doing this. Why are you guys involved from a government viewpoint? And so thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having us. It's an important topic to discuss, and appreciate everything you're doing and the Rotary is doing on our teens' behalf, and really it benefits everyone.
Right.
Not just the teens.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
No, and that's, the younger we can get them, I think, is the better. If we can give them the tools so that they don't get as screwed up as we are. It's kind of how I see it. That's the goal. So really, before we dive in to kind of the kind of your government involvement, I kind of want to get into why is this so important to you two, Julia and Leah? Why do you have a personal stake in what we're fighting against?
Yeah, right. So we're all a youth at one point, right? I am a mom of 4, you're a mom, we're invested. We're invested from a mother perspective, but from the mayor to just a community member, it's so important. It's so important just to bring awareness to this. Let's talk about it. I think one thing over the past several years is stigmas that have been attached to certain things. Let's do away with those. Let's just talk about it.
100%.
So it's so important. It impacts some of our most vulnerable, our youth, and the ripple effect. It's so incredibly important.
Oh, absolutely. No, that the ripple effect is huge. In my own family, and I've shared some of the stories on the podcast here of what we've dealt with. I have 2 adopted sisters, and I mean we all had our own issues, but it was so turbulent when something would happen where there would be an issue where the family would have to get together, and someone's in the hospital because something happened or whatever, and it's scary, and it affects the entire family. The other kids going to school and with their friends, and it definitely has that ripple effect to the community.
Right, and we need those tools, and the way to get that is to educate ourselves.
Absolutely.
And we need to bring the people to the table that have that information, that have that level of expertise. Bring it to the table, from a parent to an educator to a church member, to be able to empower our teens with the tools that we've learned.
Love that. Yeah, no, absolutely. Leah?
Yeah, same thing. Obviously, being a mom first and foremost really brings us to your awareness. And then even before council, I was actually a teacher for 16 years.
Oh.
So
Gosh, you've got-
I've been in the classroom for a long time.
Oh, wow,
and
that's a great perspective to
yeah,
have.
and the last couple years while I was teaching, it was in a high school, and it was actually an alternative high school, and so we saw lots of kiddos that needed some extra love and care, and so that's when I even started learning more about, trauma and our brains and realizing, that there are so many great tools out there that we didn't have as kids, and there was even
Absolutely.
terminology that I feel like we didn't have when we were youth, and so just now that we do know what we know as adults, and we need to now help this new younger generation work through those things.
Yeah. I think for a long time, speaking of stigma, it was always mental health issues was the monster under the bed, right? And so the kid was saying, hey, I'm having a hard time. It's like, no, there's no monster under your bed. Just forget about it, and,
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist,
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that we're finding that, no, there is something there, right? And we don't want to tell the kids that there is a monster under the bed. I don't know, that might work to help put them to bed.
Yeah.
It's like, there is a monster under your bed, and you better
Stay
behave.
in bed.
So you better stay in bed.
Still with them.
No, but I think that putting a name on the monster, if you will, the terminology that we have now to explain things, destigmatizing it, it takes a lot of its power away, right? And so, absolutely, I think by talking about it, that is how we gain power over it, right?
And we've made big strides. Like, I'm thinking about the term like mental health day. Like, I love that. I would love to use it more free. Like, I need a mental health day. I can respect that. Just like saying I need a vacation. I need a mental health day. Like, if I hear my kids say that, okay, I get that's a cry. You need a break. We put so much on ourselves. We put so much on our youth between sports and academics and extracurriculars, all of these things. I need a timeout, Mom. Like, my brain is maxed.
Absolutely.
And I can't go any further. And if we keep piling it on, then that's when our kids are experiencing more of this. And so again, getting rid of that stigma, just talking about it more, we know more about it, and it's not taboo anymore. We all experience it to a different
100%.
degree.
And also, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
please, just jump in. This is
That's what I love about this.
And
this is
to
great.
that, like, growing up, I mean, they always had the body health safe, like, here, we're going to exercise, make sure you're taking care of your bodies, eating healthy foods, don't do
talk about
drugs. We never talked about our brains,
No.
our mental health. And so that's what I mean. That's why this is so important to that should be a part of the everyday conversation, like you're saying.
How are you doing? Like, let's check in. Like,
yes.
what's the mental health like? No, I think that is extremely important. Something that I have actually personally seen in my life, just because of all of the stuff that we went through as a kid. I grew up, and it's funny because my older siblings are like, "Who? What? That's not how I grew up." But I very much grew up in a house where there was that constant inventory of like, "Hey, like, this is what we're dealing with, and like, how are you doing with it?" And I mean, I still wasn't immune to hard times that would come my way, and talked about my own experience and journey with depression and suicide and things like that. So no one is immune, but by having the tools, it's been that much more better to be able to get through that, right? You mentioned something about sports and academics and all those other things. While those are definitely good, right? Those can definitely be tools to help give kids confidence and empower them. Distractions don't always equal, the solution. And I think that by having that conversation, then those things can become that much more effective at combating those, right? And I think that's fantastic. I was just the interview that we just had a couple days ago. We talked about how a lot of those things, it's what leads to those choices that are permanent. Where there's no coming back from. Oftentimes it comes as an escape, right? And we were talking about, or specifically, how much is too much when we're talking about it. And the answer I thought was great. He said that we can't talk about it too much so long as we're providing solutions with the conversation.
Interesting.
So if we're just talking just to talk, then it's like, that can actually be a little bit dangerous. But if we're talking about solutions, then that's where it really is where things gain traction. There's no putting this genie back in the bottle, right? Like our teens are dealing with things that we never had to deal with growing up. Social media and just the ability to spread information or
fingertips.
It's right there,
Yeah.
right? And so there's so many different things that they're dealing with, but there's no going back in our technology, right? So my question, I guess, to you two, from your place of authority, what solutions are you guys wanting to work on? Whether it's just things that you guys have talked about, initiatives, positions. I mean, getting involved in this event, I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah.
But what have you guys seen as what is a solution for helping our teams with all this?
All right, I'll let Mayor talk about their.
Okay. I think one thing is absolutely the awareness, continuing to bring awareness to it. One thing that crossed my mind when we were talking, even just the shift from mental illness to mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Changing
Right?
That's a subtle
So it's
shift.
it's things like that where, like you were talking about your body and your health, like it's all things, you know, I might not be ill, but I'm dealing with different things physically, and so to put that illness versus just health. So, but a lot of it is awareness. So one thing we're doing right now, our council is fantastic. So what we recently started, we started it a year ago. It's called For Our Town. We just had a meeting on,
Just a
my
few
days
right?
are
Tuesday,
blending
right?
into, yeah. So on Tuesday, it's so fantastic. We talked about it
great
afterwards.
meeting.
It's invitation to anyone that wants to
Oh,
participate.
beautiful.
But we have are groups of nonprofits coming together that have all of these different resources.
Oh,
So they're all
great.
sitting at the same table, and it's members from different churches across the community, from our different schools,
Our small businesses.
small businesses,
I mean,
just community members that want to be involved, saying, okay, how do we, to your point, how do we solve this? And so one thing a little bit further than that is we did an assessment based on what we felt like the most important needs were, and it was teen health. And it's very hard as adults to know what teens are facing and what they need unless we hear it from them.
Right.
And so that's been a big initiative that the council has supported me in as well, is involving our youth. And so I'm really excited. We've announced our Mayor's Teen Advisory Committee
Beautiful.
to bridge that, to advise the council. How beautiful is that, right?
What
To
do we need?
advise
Yeah, you
us
tell us.
that can make those decisions. What do you need? How can we help you? What are we not thinking of? How does this affect you? I mean, I think I know what my daughter's going through, or my son's. I think I know what they need, but I don't unless I hear it from them. And what I'm providing them could be what sounds great. It could be textbook, but it's not what they need. And it's so interesting. Just was that yesterday? We're currently interviewing for the position that's going to oversee that. And what we had them do was they went down to the pump track and the skate park, and they went and talked to the youth. And I was actually surprised at how the youth just circled around him. But they went right into him, and these youth just circled around him, and they stopped what they're doing, and they talked to him. They all had an opinion. They all had ideas.
Yeah.
They all wanted to be part of the solution.
Amazing.
And if we give them a platform, they're going to take it. And so I feel like that's really important to open that for them to have that platform and that voice. Leading into that, we're doing, it's called the Teen Voices Summit. So that's going to be just over a month. It's May 4th. I think it's 9 to 1, but a half day. And I want to try and get as many of our teens
Beautiful.
to come and attend that.
Oh, great. No, we'll make sure
Please
you
do.
send that to us so that we can post it on our social
great.
medias and make sure
I'd
that
appreciate that, because
that sounds fantastic.
I just want to market it like crazy to get as many of our youth to attend it.
Beautiful.
And it's basically a needs assessment. What do you guys need?
Yeah.
What are we not seeing? What are we not hearing? And then from that takes that needs assessment, moves it forward to, so our youth council from day one, they have an action plan moving forward.
Yeah.
Because we're figuring out the teen council or advisory council as we go.
Beautiful.
And so that gives them, something tangible right away to work on. And it's just, it's so important. And so it's important for me, and I love that it's important for our council, and that support, the community is receiving it really well. And the youth will talk if we listen.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And that alone speaks volumes to the issue, right? Like if there is a cry that they have been trying to tell us, we need help, like something, so like, and not just we need help, but we want to be involved with the solution, right? And so I think that being able to give them that platform is fantastic. The whole reason I started this was to be able to talk to nonprofits and organizations and public officials, educators. So it's cool that you've got both of those under your belt, to be able to say, hey, like, we need to coordinate our efforts, which for, as part of our town meeting, that is fantastic to be able to put everybody in the same room at the same table and say, how do we coordinate our efforts? Because united we conquer, divided we fall. It's like we might be banging our heads over the wall saying, what's the solution? And lo and behold, this other organization over here has that. And we can work together to do that, and I think that sometimes that can be a little bit difficult too, is I know traditionally in the mental health field, sometimes there's been a little bit of a territory war. And so it's like, well, I want to do it, and I want to do it, and I want to do it. It's like, well, hey, we need to all like work together so that we can actually like make a difference here.
Well, and then it's more sustainable, right? You can want to do all of it and take it all on yourself, but how long is that going to last? That's more sustainable.
100%. And one of these things too is one of the things I actually wanted to get to here was one of the things, as we were talking to Derek Lee, he's the CEO of the Hope Institute. We're doing some great work with him. They're a suicide prevention center for teens. I don't know if you guys have heard of them or not. They're just amazing. But one of the things that he talked about is how underfunded mental health services are.
Absolutely.
If you've got people that have master's degrees that are getting paid less than someone that works at a grocery store. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like we need to be putting more behind that. And so I said, well, what do we do? How do we change that? And he said that we need to push. We need to have the conversation. Because if no one's talking about it, then we're not going to think it's an issue.
Exactly.
And so he said, as community members, we need to push on organizations and our public officials and all of these things. So you just laid out a great, amazing plan for the youth to be able to essentially have that voice, instead of just passively waiting for people to come. You're saying, hey, like, please come and tell us because we want to know. But what are some other ways that we as community members can push on our elected officials to change the resources and really the money that is put into this? Because I hate to say it, but we need money for this mission, So what, as community members, the question is, what can we do to push more to really get this done?
So I would say, honestly, one thing that's very underrated or unknown is the tax credit program. I don't know if you knew that's what I was going to go with that, but people don't realize here in Arizona that you can, we all have to pay state taxes, and you can allocate where that goes. When you're doing your taxes every, whenever it is, beginning of the year.
Right now,
before, it hasn't hit
the next 15 days.
Or April 15th yet. There's a whole list, and we recently even met with someone right here in our community who has an organization that she take all the money that is donated through either donations or the tax credit, she's paying for therapy, counseling services for those in need. So people can apply and say, hey, we really need this, can't afford this because we know that is expensive. So there are actually ways, easy, and that's an easy one. And most people don't know about this, sadly.
Yeah.
And so that's a great one that we really do need to push in the community. Start right there. You're already paying the state taxes. Now you can channel where that goes.
Yeah.
So that's a great one right there. And then just, we do have to put our money where our mouth is. And, everyone wants to sit and talk about all the issues and teen violence and those, and it is all true. But what are we doing? What are we even sacrificing within ourselves, within our families to donate or to help those causes? Because there are many great organizations, but you're right, money is usually a barrier half the time. So what are we doing? Are we doing our part to helping and donating so that they can provide the services needed? And so just talking about those, and really, that's why For Our Town is fantastic. We're getting to know the nonprofits. A lot of the different churches have their own, youth ministries or
what
groups.
Are the resources they have?
Yes, and so you don't know about them until you come together. And so this honestly is probably the best start and the best thing that we can do. Condensing, put them all together. And the chambers, our Queen Creek Chambers is doing a great job at putting that all on an app and on a website for us, so that we can easily just get there, find the resources that anybody needs.
And is that up and running?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So
we'll
we will
make sure
get you
that
that.
we get the
Yeah,
links.
absolutely.
I think it's explorequeencreek.com.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so and we'll put a link in the
Please do.
description and
Yeah.
everything as well.
Yes.
So.
And we
that's
love, and
fantastic.
anybody that that is in Queen Creek, like I said, small business, anyone that wants to be involved with that, they can put their information on there so that we can collectively go and quickly find them.
So how do us as community members, how do we? I mean, because you guys want to hear from everybody, right?
Yes.
And you've made that abundantly clear through the programs and everything that you guys are actively working on. So how can everybody else add their voice to everything?
Yeah.
For Our Town, I think, is a great
You said it's
ability.
open to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone can.
And we'll follow up with the next date on that one. I don't
Okay,
know it
great.
off the top of my head because we
Yeah.
just scheduled it.
I was in I can't remember exactly. I remember there's anyway.
But that's in a great ability. We, as far as the town council, we're always accessible, and just trying to get, because we know as government, we can't solve everything. That's why
Right.
having these other key players at the table is so important.
Oh yeah, vital.
We can't do it all. And so having them at the table is so important. And just continuing, doing the job that we can't, having those conversations with our own youth, right? That's our own individual jobs, is to carry that information to our youth. It starts in the home. It's so important.
Oh man, does it ever?
So we're trying to solve these things, but realizing everybody has to play a part.
And just to that as well, we all have been given gifts and talents. And when I've talked with people in the past that want to maybe get involved with politics or whatever it is, I always say, find your passion. We can't do everything. None of us can do everything. And even on the council, we all have our niches that we really focus on or whatnot. So people need to, dig deep, find out what is their passion, what is the avenue that they want to really focus on, because trying to do it all, it just won't work.
Right.
And so that's key, as you're asking, how can people get involved? First, what is it? What is that you really feel like you can contribute to and make a difference? So.
Right. Find that unique way that you can add to the solution.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And with that, a lot of people, especially with social media, they want to sit back and complain. Yeah. And like I have this,
there's a lot of that going on.
I have this thing where it's like, don't complain about it unless you've, emailed me or offered a solution or something, right? And so let's build this together. And so there's a lot of information out there, and getting it to us is very important. It's very easy just to sit back and complain about what should be done or what could be done. But again, we all are part of that solution, and it takes, there's a lot of good ideas, but it takes manpower to make these things things happen.
100%.
And we have a very high volunteerism rate in Queen Creek. It's fantastic. I think one of the best positions we hired was our volunteer coordinator, and she's just been inundated with people volunteering.
amazing.
And so we're able to accomplish these things in the past we weren't. And then even to, we love saving tax dollars. So you look at overall how much tax dollars it saves.
Several million this last
Yeah.
year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Just to be able to have those volunteers
Absolutely.
Yeah.
versus
actual
like
paid
actual-
employees. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh man, that's fantastic. So, what have been some of the roadblocks? I guess we've kind of briefly, kind of in a roundabout way, mentioned a few. But what have been some of the roadblocks in your guys' way to being able to move this forward?
Well, I mean, when it comes to the, for our town and the youth, there hasn't been any roadblocks there. So if we want to, try to go back further, we really, I hate to say that, there really hasn't been any huge roadblocks, because this is something
That's
that
great.
I know, that everyone's been passionate about. Even going back to, our police department's been around for just over 2 years now. So we have a fairly new, young police department. But from the beginning, when we were, creating that, the community outreach was a huge part of how we wanted that to look.
Oh,
and
that's
so
great.
really moving forward with our police chief, and as he was hiring, keeping that at the forefront of what we were wanting our police department to be doing. And they are extremely involved with our youth, with the community. They're hosting events, going to events, and that's a big part of it. And I think that's really important. So honestly, I can't come up with any roadblocks, because I feel like this is just something that everyone has wanted, and we've been working towards, and it's been growing. So I don't know if you've
I would say, not necessarily roadblocks, but making it a priority.
Yeah.
Recognizing each community is different, all the demographics are different, but we have one of, if not the youngest median age communities across the state.
Wow.
We have a lot of young families. Our percentage of youth is overwhelming, and so making that a priority year after year, and knowing that that's an investment in our future. But to the policing, that was one of the reasons we started our police department, was the term community policing. And I feel like at the time I had an idea of what that meant. I had no idea until I saw it in first person,
Action.
and what it looks like, and how many hours our officers are out there interacting with the community, just integrating. And
so it's not it's the police, like
No.
who's going to stand up. It's like, no, like we're
Yes.
working in concert.
right, I use the example of, it used to be when there was a police car outside of my children's elementary school, it's alarming, right? Where now, they're just going and interacting with our youth.
I love that.
And community policing, you'll see every single month we have different events with our police, whether it's chilling with a cop or coffee with a cop, or
Oh, that's fun.
how many C things can you do, right?
Yeah.
But all these different actions, they do reading with a cop, all of these things to, hey, they're members of our community trying to keep us safe. They do
I
a
love that.
great job.
Yeah.
Our police department is top notch. We got officers and non-sworn from all over the country, just the best of the best.
Yeah.
Oh,
Starting
that's
with our
fantastic.
chief of police.
No, and I think that's great that you're able to kind of have that mindset from its conception.
Yeah.
To be able to say, no, this is the mindset that we need to have going into this, so that we can actually like keep it going. And it's like I said, it's not going away, right? And we have to figure out how we're going to move forward with that.
And it just keeps evolving, right? So technology is evolving. I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to keep my children safe with evolving technology and all of these things that they have access to. And so it's, again, keeping that priority, being in front of it.
Yeah.
And so as these things evolve, we're in the community, we're being part of it, the solution.
Awesome. No, I love that. And that's why we have all of this is to create that platform to say, hey, what are you guys' questions? So if you guys have questions,
Yes.
please put them in the comments. Let us know, because that is how we, know what the issue is, and then
Exactly.
we can put a solution
Address
to it.
it.
And we can address it and put it on the
Forward.
table, lay it
Yep.
out, and say, okay, we keep hearing this
Yep.
from everybody, so what are we going to do about it? So please make your voice known.
Yep.
come to the 4-hour town meetings,
Yes.
contact your school district and your elected officials. Those are the things that are going to be able to move these things
Join a
along.
nonprofit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Volunteer.
Volunteer.
All of these different things. And please let Bridging Divides know,
Okay.
when we have those events so that we can put them out on our social
Absolutely.
media and so that we can get some cameras there and get involved and talk to volunteers. We would love to be able to do that. And please come out and we'll all just kind of have a great time. To that, just to kind of land the plane, again, just a reminder of the Rotary Run for Resilience for Queen Creek that's happening on April 27th. We put a registration link in the description below. I don't know why I keep pointing down. It's just because that's where the screen is. Yeah.
They all do.
But we do have that description. We have the link in the description for you guys to follow that there, and you guys will both be there. I will be there, and it's just going to be a great time, and to be able to come together as a community as well. So, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
It just has been an absolute pleasure. And remember, guys, you can make a difference. I know that it can be difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but that is why we're having this conversation. That's why we are having the meetings that we're having with all of the organizations and our citizens around us in our neighborhoods, so that we can come up with those solutions. So please add your voice to that, and together we can find a solution. I love you guys. We'll see you on the next one.